Welcome to the deep dive. You know, when you follow the world of wealth today, the big names, they're usually tied to AI, maybe crypto, the next big social media thing.
Right, disruptors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But today, we're looking at a billionaire who's, well, he's a total anomaly.
Absolutely. Tilman Fertitta built an $11.3 billion fortune, not on code, but as our sources put it, on crab legs, casino floors, and courtside seats.
It's incredible. He literally started peeling shrimp in his dad's restaurant.
Yeah, it's this really physical, old school kind of origin story, nothing like the Silicon Valley playbook we usually hear about.
And the scale now. Landry's Inc., that's over 600 restaurants, hotels, entertainment spots. Then there's the Houston Rockets, bought for what, $2.2 billion back in 2017?
A record at the time.
A record, yeah. And now, just recently confirmed as the U.S. ambassador to Italy and San Marino, that's quite a portfolio.
Business, sports, politics. It's that mix that's really fascinating. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to unpack this idea of power integration, how he managed to stitch together commerce, big league sports, and high-level politics into this one kind of self-fueling system.
An empire built on influence, sure, but also just meticulous control, deep control.
Exactly.
Okay, so where do we start? It has to be that operational billionaire mindset,
Yeah.
right? Back in Galveston, Texas.
Right, working in his father's restaurant as a kid. But the key thing, the sources really emphasize this, he wasn't focused on learning to cook.
He wasn't becoming a chef.
No.
Yeah.
He was learning the machine, how it worked. He was training himself to be an operator, obsessing over margins, tracking costs, watching customer flow.
So less about the food, more about the unit economics.
Precisely. And that discipline, that early training, you can see it as the foundation for pretty much every major decision later on.
Which brings us straight to the Rockets acquisition.
Yeah.
2017, $2.2 billion. I mean, that's a staggering amount of money. And the sources say he didn't tap his savings, didn't bring in outside investors, no private equity. So how did he pull that off and keep total control?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. He basically played this solo financial game. He financed the whole thing using debt.
Debt for $2.2 billion.
Yep. Specifically, corporate bonds tied to his larger company, Landry's. It was a, let's say, sophisticated move.
Okay.
It let him grab the asset, the Rockets immediately, keep his own cash free, his personal liquidity, but the crucial part, he kept 100% ownership, full control, no partners.
But hang on, taking on that much debt, isn't that incredibly risky? I mean, to avoid sharing equity, you saddle the whole operation with massive interest payments. Where's the line between control and just potential disaster?
That's really the core tension in his whole philosophy, isn't it? There's a quote, something like, "I never risk what I can't control, but I always control more than they think." So for him, the risk of those high interest payments, acceptable. Because the alternative risk, having a partner telling him what to do or having to sell off a piece later, that's unacceptable.
So liquidity is just nice to have.
It makes you comfortable, yeah. But leverage, especially when you use it to keep full ownership of an asset you believe is going to grow in value, and the Rockets certainly have, that's what he thinks makes you unstoppable. Control is the real currency here.
Okay, that makes sense of the debt strategy then. Paying a premium in interest was worth it to keep that 100% control over an appreciating asset. So if control is the ultimate goal, how did he apply that same thinking to building the rest of the empire?
Yeah.
You know, stitching together hundreds of restaurants, hotels, and this massive physical network.
Right. That leads us perfectly into what the sources call his ecosystem empire. And this wasn't some overnight thing. It started small, buying a piece of Landry seafood back in '86.
Took it public in '93.
Exactly. And then spent decades integrating, buying strategically, often when others were selling, counter-cyclically.
And when you list out the assets now under Landry's Inc., it's just, wow, over 600 restaurants. You've got Bubba Gump Shrimp Co., Morton's, Rainforest Cafe, Saltgrass.
All those brands, yeah. Plus the Golden Nugget casinos and hotels, aquariums, amusement parks, and of course, the Rockets.
It really drives home that he's not just selling a single meal or a hotel room. He's aiming to sell the entire experience.
That's the strategy the sources call experience domination. He wants your whole night out, your whole weekend.
There's that quote, "Why let someone leave your world when you can build a world they don't want to leave?" It's quite something.
It really is. And it creates this physical luxury loop, a flywheel, basically.
How does that work in practice?
Well, think about it. You're staying at the Golden Nugget. Maybe you go see the aquarium there. You eat dinner at one of his restaurants inside the casino. If you're a high roller, guess what? You're getting comped amazing seats to the Rockets game.
And probably dinner at Morton's afterward.
Exactly. Every piece promotes and feeds the other pieces. The goal is to keep the customer's time and, crucially, their money circulating entirely within his world.
It's fascinating. While tech companies are battling for like 5 seconds of your screen time, he's owning your real-world experience for 5 hours. That's a powerful position.
It's a huge competitive advantage, but running that many physical businesses, restaurants, hotels, casinos, it's incredibly complex. So much can go wrong operationally.
Things can decay, costs can spiral.
Precisely. And that's why his focus has to shift almost obsessively to what the sources call the margin mindset.
Right. Let's get into that, because while most founders are chasing that 10x disruption, that moonshot,
He's down in the weeds.
yeah, he's supposedly looking at like tiny food cost variances, 1% here, 10% there. How does a billionaire running all this still have time to check individual supplier contracts? Is it real or just good PR?
Oh, the sources insist it's absolutely real. And it's kind of the quiet genius behind how it all works. He practices what they call relentless financial hygiene.
Meaning?
Meaning he's looking at restaurant-level reports every single week. When they acquire a new chain, he's known to go straight into the kitchens, auditing the supplier deals, checking the actual cost of ingredients for specific popular dishes.
Why? Because the margins are just that thin.
Exactly. In restaurants, hotels, you're often talking maybe 5%, 10% profit margin on average. So finding even a single percentage point improvement,
Across hundreds of locations.
that translates into millions of dollars on the bottom line annually. It's like you said, finding a dollar under the couch cushion, but doing it in 600 different houses systematically.
So the principle is, forget the home runs, just keep hitting singles.
Pretty much. You don't get rich hoping for big wins. You get rich protecting small margins and repeating them thousands of times. That's the core idea, and it requires intense, active focus. He actually said, I don't believe in passive income. I believe in active understanding. He needs to know it himself.
But, okay, the obvious question. If you're squeezing costs that hard, doesn't the quality inevitably suffer? How do you maintain that luxury experience loop while pinching every penny?
Well, that's the balancing act, right? The sources suggest that because his control over the entire process is so deep, from designing the menu to signing the vendor contracts, he can enforce quality through sheer operational discipline, not just by blindly cutting costs.
It's controlled again.
It always comes back to control. And this obsessive focus, the structure, it makes the empire incredibly resilient. It's built to survive downturns. We saw that really clearly in 2020.
Right. The pandemic hit hospitality hard. What was his survival strategy then?
Yeah, facing huge challenges, furloughs, casinos closed, restaurants empty, a massive liquidity crunch. He did what the sources called strategic compression.
Okay. What does that mean?
It means he raised money through high-yield bonds. Basically, he agreed to pay a much higher interest rate to borrow money during that crisis.
That sounds painful. Why do that?
Because the alternative was diluting his ownership by bringing in partners, or being forced to sell off prize assets like maybe the rockets on the cheap. He paid a premium through higher interest, specifically to maintain 100% control. It positioned the empire to survive and then reload when things eventually turned around.
Paying for control even when it hurts financially in the short term. Okay. Which then brings us to maybe the highest level of this power integration, move into politics. 2025, he's confirmed U.S. ambassador to Italy and San Marino, an unpaid role. Why? Why would the guy running this $11.3 billion machine pivot to diplomacy?
It's a fascinating question, the short answer. He's trading income for what the sources call power vector.
Power vectors, explain that.
This move is like the ultimate example of converting wealth into influence, capital to influence. He knew taking the job meant intensive ethics filings, stepping back from the day-to-day running of Landry's.
A lot of scrutiny.
Huge scrutiny.
Yeah.
Yet, crucially, the structure allowed him to retain full ownership of the Houston Rockets. That was non-negotiable, it seems.
So the Rockets are key. Why are they the piece he wouldn't let go of, even for an ambassadorship?
Because they're not just a business asset anymore. They're the narrative engine. The diplomatic post gives him access. He couldn't buy entry into geopolitical circles, networks in foreign policy, global trade discussions. His sphere of influence just explodes beyond business.
And when he speaks now, he's not just Tilman Fertitta, billionaire.
He represents the United States. His soft power multiplies exponentially. It perfectly illustrates the idea that sometimes the most powerful decisions don't grow your bottom line, they grow your sphere.
Okay, let's drill down on that soft power play aspect. Why is owning a sports team, specifically an NBA team, such a potent tool for global influence?
The reach is just immense. The NBA claims, over 2 billion fans worldwide?
Wow.
And Rockets games specifically are broadcast in over 200 countries. Plus, there's that unique legacy connection with Yao Ming, giving the team a massive dedicated fan base, particularly in Asia.
So owning the team is like owning a global broadcast channel.
It's a platform. It gives him immediate access, immediate credibility with political leaders, business elites all over the world. Owning the team controls the message.
And we saw that put to the test, didn't we? During that whole controversy around the Hong Kong tweet back in 2019, his ownership position gave him a unique standing to try and manage that situation.
Exactly. It allowed him to engage directly, to try and stabilize the narrative in a way a non-owner simply couldn't. And beyond crises, ownership grants that automatic entry into the most exclusive rooms, literally, the owner's suite.
That's the social capital flywheel you mentioned.
Right. Policy talks happen over drinks, business deals get sketched out courtside, charity events connect powerful people. As one source puts it, money makes noise, but culture makes people listen.
And by owning a global cultural asset like the Rockets and holding a diplomatic title, he's operating on multiple levels at once. He's not just at the table, he's helping set the guest list.
He's become a hybrid figure.
So if we wrap this up, Fertitta's story, it's not the typical Silicon Valley narrative of moving fast and breaking things.
Not at all. It's about patiently building a system, maybe even a dynasty, piece by piece, using margins, patience, and above all, control. It's designed to last, to survive the economic winters.
That's the lesson of duration, isn't it? He plays the long game.
Absolutely. The sources make that clear. He's playing to win the next era, not just the next financial quarter. And maybe the ultimate point is you don't necessarily need to invent the next world-changing technology. Maybe you just need to, as one source puts it, own enough of it, enough of the existing world so you're insulated when things inevitably shift.
He moved deliberately. He owned the things worth keeping, worth controlling.
That mastery of the numbers, the timing, and maybe even the silence around the moves, that's how you build real weight, real gravity in the world.
His journey really shows how power can be designed, often quietly, maybe on a spreadsheet, long before it makes headlines.
Which brings us to the final thought for you, the listener. Your system, your world, it might not involve casinos or basketball teams, but the principle applies. Where in your life, professional or maybe even personal, can you build unshakable control? Not just chase capital, but secure control.
What's that one specific quiet move you can make today? Maybe it's analyzing a small recurring expense. Maybe it's defining a boundary in a relationship. Something that starts building your own durable, unshakable system. Food for thought.